Have you ever felt like your whole life was collapsing just when you were finally closer to your purpose? Doors closing, people fading, opportunities disappearing, and this whisper in your mind, "Am I cursed? Is something wrong with me?" What if I told you, you are not cursed? You are in the final stage before power. The night feels coldest right before the dawn. Pressure builds right before elevation. If the air has felt heavy, if strange patterns repeat, if emotions surge like unpredictable tides, stay until the end. I'll reveal 6 unmistakable signs you're at the threshold. And the last is the one most chosen ones miss, but it changes everything. We won't just talk concepts. We'll decode the symbols, connect them to your daily life, and I'll show you how to respond. You'll see the setbacks weren't punishment. They were preparation for a higher level. If your spirit recognizes this, tap like, subscribe, and comment 7 below. The number of completion, marking the end of an old cycle and the opening of your next chapter. Subscribing also keeps this message visible in YouTube's ocean, so other chosen ones can find their path. We're about to begin. In a moment, I'll share sign number 1, a quiet indicator most overlooked because it doesn't seem dramatic. But once you see it, you'll never call it a curse again. Number 1, the silence before the shift. It's like standing in an open field at night. The air is still, no movement. Even the animals are quiet. It feels unnatural. In life, this silence appears when projects stall, calls stop, and opportunities dry up. You feel forgotten. Many mistake it for abandonment, but spiritually, silence is rarely absence. It's alignment. Think of an archer. Before releasing the arrow, everything stops. The bow is drawn, the target fixed, every muscle still. That stillness isn't weakness, and it's potential energy waiting to be unleashed. When you're in this silence, heaven is pulling back the bowstring of your life. The greater the pull, the greater the launch. The challenge is that emptiness feels loud. You may want to force results or run back to what's familiar. But now is the time to hold position. Prepare your spirit, clear your mind, and sharpen your inner ear. Because when the release comes, it will be fast. One clue you're here. The usual noise is gone. Drama, distractions, and busyness fade. It's the stage being cleared, and that's not an accident. Heaven closes the curtains before the next act begins. But silence never lasts forever. Soon, pressure builds beneath the surface, leading straight into the next sign, resistance. Number 2, intensified spiritual resistance. It's like walking into a fierce wind. Every step harder, your breath strained. You were moving forward, momentum building. Then suddenly, pushback begins. Tasks become complicated. Simple things take twice the effort. Unexpected problems pile up. It's as if invisible walls appear in your path. But this resistance isn't random. It's targeted. The spiritual realm senses your light growing stronger and knows that once you cross this threshold, you'll never be the same. The enemy doesn't waste resources on those going nowhere. If you're under heavy attack, it's confirmation. You're moving in the right direction. Like a soldier approaching a fortress, the closer you get, the more arrows are fired. Not because you're lost, but because you're almost inside. Resistance can show up as tension in relationships, opportunities falling through, or exhaustion that drains your focus and prayer life. It disguises itself as a sign to quit, whispering, "It's too hard. It's not meant to be." But like an airplane taking off, the resistance is what gives you lift. Here's how to move through it. First, recognize it for what it is, light against darkness, and light always wins if it doesn't stop shining. Second, stay anchored. Pray, speak life over your day, and keep voices of truth around you. Third, remember, resistance is seasonal. It peaks, then passes, leaving you stronger. And after resistance comes another test. This one doesn't come from the outside, but from within. Emotional volatility. Number 3, emotional volatility. One moment you wake inspired, ready to conquer the day. By afternoon, you're drained, irritable, maybe questioning your purpose. The swings feel extreme, like riding waves in unpredictable waters. Chosen ones often mistake this for weakness. But these emotional shifts are signs of expansion. Like a seed breaking through soil, your inner world is shifting. Your spirit is moving into higher awareness, but your body and mind are still adjusting. It's like tuning an old radio. Near the right station, you still get static until alignment locks in. In this stage, tears may come easily, sometimes from release, not sadness. Anger might flare without reason. You might feel gratitude and frustration in the same day. Don't rush to fix it. Your emotions are messages, showing where healing is still needed. Shutting down would be like a butterfly hardening its cocoon mid-transformation. Instead, let feelings move through while staying anchored. Express safely, journal freely, speak in prayer, be honest with yourself. Ground your body, walk barefoot, breathe deeply. Remind your nervous system you're safe. Hold your identity. Test your emotions against God's truth, not fear. Emotional volatility is often the last purge before you can hold greater spiritual power. And when your inner atmosphere changes, your outer world follows, often starting with people quietly pulling away. Number 4, people pulling away. It can be subtle at first. A friend takes longer to reply. A family member seems distant. Invitations stop coming, and you start to feel a strange emptiness in your social world. For chosen ones, this often feels personal. You wonder, did I do something wrong? Did I change too much? But here's the truth. You have changed. And that's exactly why this is happening. Imagine a tree in autumn. The leaves don't fall because the tree is dying. They fall because the tree is entering a new cycle. The sap is drawing inward to protect and strengthen the core for winter, so it can bloom stronger in spring. The falling leaves are part of the design. When your spirit rises to a new frequency, not everyone can meet you there. Some people simply aren't aligned with where you're going. Their season in your story has ended, and that's not failure, it's transition. In spiritual growth, relationships are like doors. Some open to bring in the right connections, others close to protect the path ahead. And if you try to force a closed door open, you'll drain the energy meant for your next step. Now, this is where it gets challenging. People pulling away often triggers old wounds, feelings of rejection, abandonment, or not belonging. That's why this sign can feel like an attack. But in reality, it's a pruning. Pruning isn't punishment, it's preparation. Ask any gardener. They cut back branches not to harm the plant, but to make room for stronger, healthier growth. Without pruning, the plant wastes energy on branches that will never bear fruit. The same is true for you. Some relationships were meant for who you were, not for who you're becoming. And if they stayed, they would slow your progress or even pull you backward. Here's the spiritual principle. Whenever God removes something or someone from your life, He's making space for something better. But you can't receive the new while clinging to the old. If you've noticed people drifting away lately, try to see it through this lens. Instead of chasing the ones leaving, focus on staying aligned with your purpose. Because the right people will meet you on the road you're walking. And here's something else. Sometimes, relationships need to leave not because of who they are, but because of who you need to become. When you're too surrounded, you don't hear your own voice clearly. Separation creates space for revelation. I know it hurts. I know it feels like loss. But every empty chair in your life right now is an open seat for someone who belongs in your next chapter. Hold that image. An empty chair, waiting for the right soul to sit down and walk with you into the future. Now, what happens after the pruning? This is where it gets interesting, because once the wrong connections are cleared out, the space around you becomes more sensitive. And suddenly, you start noticing signs everywhere. Numbers, symbols, dreams, repeated words, as if the universe itself is speaking to you on overdrive. This is not imagination. It's the next sign, and it's one of the most exciting parts of the journey. In a moment, we're going to talk about why synchronicities start to multiply at this stage. how to tell which ones are truly for you, and why ignoring them could mean missing a divine appointment. Number 5. Synchronicities on overdrive. It starts small. You glance at the clock, and it's 11:11. The next day, you see the same number on a receipt. Later that week, someone speaks the exact phrase you were thinking about just moments before, and you think, "That's strange." Then it happens again and again, until it no longer feels like coincidence. For chosen ones, synchronicities are not random events. They're spiritual breadcrumbs, guiding you toward alignment, confirmation, and divine timing. They're heaven's way of saying yes and keep going. You're on the right path. When you enter the final stage before power, these synchronicities increase dramatically. Why? Because your awareness sharpens. Your spirit is tuned in. You've shed enough noise, through silence, resistance, and pruning, that you can finally notice the signs that were always there. Think of it like this. Imagine walking through a dense forest at night with a flashlight that's almost out of battery. You can only see a few steps ahead. But as you get closer to your destination, the battery somehow brightens. Suddenly, you notice small markers on the trees, arrows carved into bark, symbols etched into stone. They were there the whole time. You just couldn't see them before. That's how synchronicities work. The most common forms include repeating numbers, recurring symbols in dreams, running into the same person in unexpected places, or hearing the same song multiple times in a short span. And the lyrics speak directly to your situation. But here's the key. Synchronicities are not just to make you feel special. They are calls to action. When you notice them, you are meant to pause, reflect, and often act. For example, if you've been thinking about starting a new project and you keep seeing references to beginnings or doors opening, that's not just encouragement. It's a nudge to take the next step. And the more you respond to these nudges, the stronger and more frequent they become. It's a feedback loop between you and the divine. However, and this is important, not every sign is for you. Distraction signs exist too. They try to pull your attention away from your true path by mimicking the feeling of synchronicity. So, how do you tell the difference? Genuine synchronicities carry peace, even when they challenge you. They feel like a quiet yes in your spirit. Distraction signs, on the other hand, often come with urgency, anxiety, or confusion. The more you cultivate inner stillness, the easier it becomes to tell them apart. Another thing to remember, synchronicities are often confirmations, not first instructions. They tend to echo something you already felt or sensed. They're like a divine amen to what's already been whispered to your heart. Now, here's why this stage matters so much before stepping into your power. These signs train you in discernment. They sharpen your ability to listen and move with precision. Because once you cross into the fullness of your calling, that sensitivity will be essential, not just for you, but for those you're meant to guide. But after all these exciting signs, there's one more. And it's the one most chosen ones don't recognize until it is already past. It's not comfortable. It's not glamorous. In fact, it can feel like complete collapse. And yet, it's the doorway into everything you've been preparing for. In a moment, we'll talk about the last, most powerful sign, the death of the old self. Why it feels like losing everything, but is actually the moment you become who you were always meant to be. Number 6. The death of the old self. This is the sign most chosen ones miss, and it's the one that changes everything. It doesn't come quietly. It feels like your identity is dissolving. The things that used to define you no longer make sense. What you wanted, what you dreamed of, what you chased, suddenly it doesn't fit anymore. It's like being a caterpillar inside the cocoon. From the outside, it looks peaceful. From the inside, it's a complete breakdown. The caterpillar isn't just growing wings. It's dissolving into a liquid form before it becomes something new. The old structure is gone. Every cell rearranges itself. That's what's happening to you. In this stage, you might feel lost. Not in the sense of, I don't know where I am, but in the sense of I don't know who I am anymore. And that is exactly the point. Because the old self, the one shaped by fear, by survival, by what others expected, cannot carry the power you're stepping into. You may find yourself letting go of goals you've had for years. You may release relationships, habits, even ways of thinking you thought were permanent, and it can feel like everything is slipping away at once. But here's the truth. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding yourself. You are leaving behind the version of you that was built for a smaller life. This is the spiritual equivalent of fire refining gold. The heat removes the impurities, leaving only what's pure and unshakable. And just like the gold in the furnace, this process is uncomfortable. It can even be painful, because it strips away the false identities that have given you a sense of security. But those identities were never the real you. In this season, you may feel a deep urge to withdraw, to be alone, to go quiet, not because you're depressed, but because the transformation is sacred, and sacred things often happen in private. You might even notice that your prayers change. Instead of asking for things, you begin asking for clarity. Instead of seeking comfort, you start seeking truth, and that shift is powerful. Because it shows you've stopped negotiating with the old life, and you're ready to embrace the new one. Here's something I need you to remember. Every chosen one who reaches their purpose goes through this death. Every prophet, every leader, every world changer in history had a moment where they walked away from who they were, to step into who they were meant to be. And if you are here now, feeling stripped, uncertain, unrecognizable to yourself, it's not the end. It's the doorway. Once you pass through this stage, something happens. Your spirit feels lighter, your vision clears, and you begin to move with a certainty you've never had before, because you're no longer operating from ego or fear. You're operating from truth. But here's the thing, this is where many people turn back. They feel the discomfort and try to rebuild the old self just to feel normal again. Don't do that. The old you is gone for a reason. Resurrecting it would only drag you back into the same cycles you fought so hard to leave. Instead, trust the process. Lean into the discomfort. Celebrate the fact that you can no longer fit into who you were. That's not failure. That's proof of transformation. Because once the old self is gone, the real you can finally step forward. And when that happens, you'll realize you were never cursed. You were being refined. You were being prepared. You were in the final stage before your power. Now, there's one last thing we need to do before we close this message. We need to bring all 6 signs together. And I want to leave you with a truth that will stay with you long after this video ends. You didn't find this message by accident. Every word you heard today was meant to meet you in this exact moment of your journey. You've seen it now. The 6 signs that prove you are not cursed. You are in the final stage before your power. The silence before the shift. The resistance that rises as you advance. The emotional waves that try to throw you off balance. The people who drift away because their chapter in your story has ended. The synchronicities that guide you like divine breadcrumbs. And finally, the death of the old self, clearing the way for the real you to emerge. These are not random. They are the language of your calling. And if you've been experiencing them, it means heaven has been aligning your life for something greater than you can imagine. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's lonely at times. Yes, it can even feel like you're losing more than you're gaining. But every chosen one goes through this passage. It's the refining fire before the elevation. So the next time you feel that heaviness, the next time resistance hits harder, the next time you notice a pattern, a number, or a sign that feels too perfect to be coincidence, stop and remember this moment. Remember what it means. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt. You are not cursed. You are being crowned. And here's the truth. The other side of this stage is not just relief. It's authority. It's clarity. It's power you've never carried before. And when it comes, you'll understand why the journey had to be this way. So hold your ground. Don't go back to the old cycle. Keep walking, even if it's one small step at a time. Now, if this message resonated with you, share it with another chosen one. Someone who might be in the silence or the resistance or the breaking point right now, because they need to know they are not alone in this passage. And if you've made it all the way here to the end, write this in the comments. I am stepping into my power, because speaking it is the first step to living it. And before you go, if you want to keep growing, keep receiving these messages, and keep your spirit sharp, click the video that's appearing on your screen right now. I believe the timing of you seeing it will not be an accident. It will be exactly what you need for the next step in your journey.